My daughter shocked me. I can't stand my mom. What happened next changed everything forever. Sarah stood in the dim kitchen, her heartbeat echoing the ticking wall clock. Another shift had dragged on into exhaustion, and all she wanted was to find solace in her daughter Emma's laughter. But that night, the air was thick with tension, and every breath felt like a fight. You don't care about my future. You just want me to be a doctor or nothing at all. Emma's words pierced through the silence like a knife. The words echoed, I can't stand my mom. A thunderclap that left Sarah trembling. Her mind raced, emotions swirling. Had she really sacrificed so much only to become the enemy? Years of late nights and missed dinner turned to dust. She had only wanted the best for Emma, relentless in her pursuit of a better life. Yet here they were, each word escalating into an identity crisis. Were her dreams for Emma suffocating her daughter's authentic self? This wasn't the first fight. It felt like a war raging inside their small home. Emma's declining grades were a red flag, but even worse was the distant, vacant look in her eyes that echoed Sarah's own youth-lost dreams folded away like forgotten laundry. She thought of the art classes Emma used to love. As Sarah prepared another late dinner alone, she could feel the walls closing in. Each day spent scrubbing floors in the hospital, taking care of others, easily translated into an unyielding push for Emma to embrace what Sarah thought was safety. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into restless nights, filled with maudlin conversations where silence often won. Sarah felt like she was failing, as if each passing day pushed them further apart. Every awkward moment spent with Emma cemented a disheartening thought: could she really begin to understand her daughter's true essence? The thought gripped her heart with fear. The irony that she herself had chosen a path for security only to rout Emma into a box was suffocating. One rainy afternoon, rummaging through the attic, Sarah stumbled upon her late mother's art studio. Hidden beneath newspapers, dust, and cobwebs lay unfinished canvases, haunted by uncertain strokes. Each piece twinkled with unfulfilled promise, a legacy of creativity. She paused, the whispers of lost dreams cascading over her. The realization that she had inherited this flame yet shunned Emma's passion for art stung like betrayal. As Sarah stood amidst the remnants of unvoiced dreams, the mounting pressure cranked higher. What if embracing Emma's artistry meant risking everything she'd worked so hard to build? The conflict tore at her: support the dreamer inside her daughter or shield her from unstable choices? Would digging deeper into their legacy cement their fractured bond or fracture it further? Just as she began to process this complex web of emotion, the phone buzzed with a startling urgency. I'm sorry, but your mother's studio is being sold. You need to come now. The word struck like thunder, amplifying the swirling chaos in Sarah's chest. Would time slip through her fingers before she could fix what felt irrevocably broken? In that moment of agony, decisions awaited, none simple, all heavy laden with fear. The phone call lingered like a dark cloud, heavy and suffocating. Sarah's heart raced as she processed the reality: her mother's studio, an emblem of unfulfilled dreams, was slipping away. A part of her felt an overwhelming urge to cling to the past, yet another part was ready to face the daunting prospect of change. She had lived so long for others, fearful that personal dreams could lead to inevitable sacrifice. Was there still time to reclaim what had been lost, both for herself and for Emma? She stood still for a moment, heart pounding, the gravity of the situation pulling her in multiple directions. Would she abandon the remnants of her mother's legacy to protect her own ideals? A pang of guilt washed over her, alongside the nagging thought this was what had caused the rift with Emma. Her need for control had stifled the creativity and aspirations she once cherished. Driven by an impulse she couldn't quite identify, Sarah raced to the studio. Each step felt like a deliberate challenge against her long-held beliefs. The fear that wrapped around her like a shroud was still there, but it was becoming looser with each stride. Upon entering, she was greeted by the musty air infused with decades of memories, colored by her mother's passion. What would happen if she unlocked the doors to this world she had stifled in her memories? The echoes of laughter and spirited discussions filled her mind. Sarah felt a sad sort of relief to be surrounded by reminders of the joy her mother found in creation. It was a stark contrast to her current reality, fraught with worry and misunderstandings. She needed this moment to pivot her perspective, to remember that life could flourish beyond the confines she had imposed. Sarah inspected the canvases, some remarkably rich in color while others remained stark, unfinished. As she brushed her fingers against the rough textures, it hit her: what if she encouraged Emma to embrace art without the fear of it leading to failure? This could be a breakthrough moment, but doing so meant shedding her tightly held beliefs about the future, risking the known for the unknown. Emma deserved more than a safety net made of fear. The realization hit hard. Could she be the catalyst for change in her daughter's life, while also reclaiming a part of herself? Moments passed in reflection, the ticking clock a reminder that time was a relentless force. With a sudden surge of determination, Sarah dialed Emma, her heart pounding in her chest. "I need to talk to you," she stated, her tone resolute yet softer than before. It was time to confront the unfolding chaos between them, to navigate the labyrinth of unspoken truths and aspirations. They both clung to desires for clarity amidst confusion. As the conversation unfolded, Sarah could feel her own barriers begin to crack. "I've overlooked what makes you special," she admitted with honesty that both frightened and liberated her. Each word emerged with a mix of trepidation and tentative hope. Emma's expectations weighed heavily on her, but what if the dialogue could sow new seeds of understanding? "Mom, I just want to be myself." Emma's voice trembled, yet it was laced with courage, and for the first time, Sarah felt the stirring of a new connection pointing them toward a shared path. Could they create a bridge out of buried dreams and neglected aspirations? An unexpected warmth began to circulate in their conversation, a shared realization that neither had really listened to the other. It was a moment of reckoning, and as they meandered through their feelings like hesitant artists on a blank canvas, Sarah knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. As the call concluded, tension transformed into a possibility both thrilling and terrifying. They were at the precipice of redefining what being mother and daughter meant, and for the first time in a long time, Sarah felt hopeful. Yet, the specter of her mother's studio looming above her, what would this new beginning demand from her? And as she glanced back at the worn canvases, laden with history and emotion, she couldn't shake the idea that her own legacy was still waiting to be painted anew. The fear of failure still lurked, but so did the promise of gambles taken for the sake of love and trust. Yet deep within her heart, another realization brewed: was she truly ready to let go of the past and embrace the uncertain yet alluring path of potential? Could this decision transform not just their relationship but lead them both toward a deeper understanding of who they were meant to be? The echoes of that question would haunt her as she prepared for the next confrontation that might redefine their destinies. The sun dipped low as Sarah stood in the studio, the fading light weaving a tapestry of shadows against the walls, each flicker resonating with memories. She inhaled the musty scent of paint and varnish, a bittersweet reminder of her mother's talent and her own stifled dreams. Every canvas seemed to whisper untold stories, and behind them, Sarah felt the weight of expectation: her mother's, her own, and most importantly, Emma's. Determined to act on the glimmer of hope she felt after her conversation with Emma, Sarah picked up the brush from the forgotten clutter on the workbench. It felt foreign in her hand yet familiar. She hesitated, unsure of her strokes and color choices, but a seed of resolve began to grow. Painting had once been an outlet, a means of expression, and she needed to rediscover that part of herself. As the brush touched canvas, the colors flowed with chaotic energy: yellows splashed against blues, swirling into greens and reds. With each stroke, she felt chunks of her old self pouring into the creation. This wasn't about perfection, it was about liberation. She could let her emotions dictate her creation instead of conforming to an ideal. How long had she silenced that part of her? Emerging from her trance, Sarah envisioned how she could channel this rediscovery into her relationship with Emma. What if they created something together, side by side? It was a radical idea, a shared project. The thought thrilled her: an opportunity to not only mend their relationship but also to cultivate something vibrant and alive. Would they dare to explore their vulnerabilities as artists, to craft a shared narrative that illuminated their differences rather than drove a wedge between them? Weeks passed with sporadic visits to the studio, where Sarah gradually formed a routine. The canvases remained unfinished, serving as reminders of potential, their colors rich yet incomplete. Each session of painting provided clarity and purpose. She was not merely creating art, she was forging a new identity. But the lingering question remained, would Emma find her way to this journey, and would it resonate with her daughter, or would the past's shadows loom too large? With growing anticipation and trepidation, Sarah invited Emma to the studio one evening, her heart pulsating with hope and anxiety. She wanted to show her daughter the work in progress, to share that the path of art was about process, not perfection. "Emma, there is something important I want to share," she began, steeling herself against the possibility of a setback. Emma entered, taking in the sight of her mother amidst the canvases. The shift in Sarah's demeanor was palpable, even as she struggled to articulate her feelings. "Look," Sarah gestured toward the colorful chaos, "I've been painting. I'm trying to express myself, but I can't do it alone anymore. I want you to join me." Emma stepped closer, her gaze softening as she studied the canvases. "You're really doing this?" she asked, her voice brimming with curiosity rather than skepticism. "Yes, and it's freeing. I want to share this with you not just as a mother, but as someone who wants to connect with you on a different level." Sarah's heart raced as she awaited Emma's response, hopeful yet fearful that her vulnerabilities would either invite closeness or reinforce the distance. Emma hesitated, seemingly weighing the enormity of the moment. Finally, with an inquisitive sparkle in her eye, she said, "Maybe I could try, but only if we work on something together." A wave of relief and joy coursed through Sarah. "Yes. Let us create something that tells our story." As they began to lay down the first colors on a fresh canvas, an electric energy pulsed between them, igniting the room with possibilities. This wasn't just an art project, it was a fresh start, a step toward a new horizon for both of them. But could this moment of connection withstand the external pressures that awaited them, the judgments of those who had always imposed expectations and the weight of Sarah's own self-doubt? Would the bond they were building be able to endure every challenge ahead? With the studio alive with potential, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was just beginning, and the deeper struggles were still to come. Yet, illuminated by the colors around them, she took a breath, ready to embrace what lay ahead, knowing full well that this newfound openness might divert into unexpected currents, both daunting and exhilarating. As the first hues blended on the canvas, Sarah felt embers of connection igniting between her and Emma. Laughter bubbled up as they dripped paint onto each other's clothes, an electric spontaneity filling the space. Yet beneath the vibrant colors, uncertainty pulsed like an undercurrent. Was this truly a turning point, or merely a fleeting moment shrouded in the optimism of the present? The following day, as Sarah returned to the studio, she struggled to ignore the relentless anxiety gnawing at her. She faced the canvas alone, each brushstroke now feeling heavy with meaning. Would their collaborative effort hold? Could she secure the bond through art? Each session revealed a new layer of vulnerability. Emma had chosen to paint a swirling galaxy, vibrant and radiant, embodying her sprawling imagination. Sarah, on the other hand, opted for more grounded imagery: a tree, its roots sprawling deep into the earth, representing her own yearning for stability amidst the chaos. As days turned into weeks, the canvases began to tell a story not just of art, but of two disparate souls striving for connection. Yet, as their project flourished, Sarah found herself grappling with her own insecurities. The colors that once felt liberating now felt like chains. What if her tree became a burden, mirroring her fears rather than embracing the growth she so desperately sought? Her mind raced. She was allowing her self-doubt to distort her creativity, a familiar pattern re-emerging to stifle her confidence. Determined to confront this, Sarah sought advice from a friend, Megan, a local artist who had once faced similar challenges. After hearing Sarah's turmoil, Megan leaned forward, her voice steady yet warm. "Don't let your past dictate your present. Art is a journey, and yours is still unfolding. Embrace the risk of imperfection." Megan's words ignited a small flame inside Sarah. Art wasn't solely about skill, it was also about authenticity, a mirror reflecting one's emotional truth. Could she redefine her relationship with failure and transformation, both in her painting and her parenting? With renewed determination, Sarah returned to the studio. Watching Emma paint passionately, lost in her galaxy of colors, sparked something inside her. For the first time, instead of feeling overshadowed, she felt illuminated by her daughter's brilliance. It was both beautiful and terrifying. What if Emma outshone her? The thought unsettled Sarah. Art was her haven, her first love. Could she genuinely move aside and embrace Emma's growth without feeling eroded by it? Or would she risk stifling her daughter's exploration if she didn't learn to celebrate Emma's artistic autonomy? As they stood shoulder to shoulder, mixing colors, Sarah forced back the urge to critique or steer the project. Instead, she eased into the process, allowing Emma to guide them. The paint flowed between them like shared breath, a silent negotiation of trust. Sarah realized art could flourish as long as it wasn't constrained by expectations, but as their collaborative piece neared completion, a shadow loomed on the horizon. A school showcase would be taking place soon, and doubts crept in. What if the public's response would reflect her past rather than the growth they had achieved together? Would Emma's classmates and their parents view their project as an amateur attempt, jaded by the weight of expectations? The night before the showcase, Sarah paced the studio, her heart a chaotic rhythm of anxiety. Would this be the moment their fragile bond crumbled under scrutiny? Or could it mark the emergence of a new chapter in both their lives, a testament to growth amidst uncertainty? As she picked up the brush one last time, blending her colors with Emma's, Sarah took a deep breath. The moment of truth was near, not just for the art but for their relationship. As shadows danced across the walls, she knew tomorrow would reveal everything: the fears, the triumphs, and perhaps, the clarity they both sought. But what if tomorrow changed everything they thought they knew about their bond? As dawn broke, the first light seeped into the studio, catching the edges of their nearly completed masterpiece. Sarah stood alongside Emma, the anticipation in the air thick enough to taste. The vibrant hues of the canvas radiated a striking contrast to the uncertainty thrumming within her. The showcase was hours away, and the weight of what was to come pressed heavily on her chest. With each paintbrush stroke, she fought against the whispering doubts, wrestling with the perception of art as a reflection of their relationship. Sarah feared judgment not just of their piece but of herself as a parent, mindful of how her insecurities might taint Emma's experience. Could she really allow her daughter to shine in this moment? "Mom, it looks amazing!" Emma exclaimed, beaming at their artwork. The compliment was a bolt of sunlight piercing through Sarah's self-imposed gloom. Yet, a shadow of doubt lingered. Was Emma genuinely impressed, or was she simply offering comfort? The thought twisted inside Sarah, making her second-guess every aspect of their creative journey. "Do you really think so?" Sarah asked, trying to mask her trepidation beneath a veneer of enthusiasm. She hoped Emma would not sense the undercurrents roiling beneath her surface, her struggle to balance motherly pride with an artist's vulnerability. "Absolutely. You made the tree look like it belongs in my galaxy." Emma's eyes sparkled with delight. The sincerity of her words momentarily grounded Sarah, but the knot in her stomach tightened. Even at this tender moment, the haunting image of her daughter outshining her loomed larger than life, fueling her insecurities. As they packed their creation to transport to the showcase, Sarah's heart raced. She wanted to celebrate this significant day for both of them, yet the sense of impending judgment was suffocating. At school, the gym had transformed into a vibrant gallery, suffused with laughter and chatter, but for Sarah, it felt suffocating, her skin prickling under the scrutiny of parents and peers. Their collaborative piece was to be displayed prominently, a symbol of their joint effort. Yet, she could already feel judgmental gazes measuring worth, not of the art, but of her as a mother. "Look, Mom, our piece is over there." Emma pointed enthusiastically, pulling her toward the display. As they approached, people began to gather around their painting, their murmurs both thrilling and terrifying. Sarah's heart danced between pride and panic. Was she merely a bystander in her daughter's journey, or was there room for her to be fully present? As they stood side by side, admiring the vibrant fusion of tree and galaxy, a familiar vulnerability crept in. What if the crowd didn't see the beauty in their connection? What if the judgment cut deeper than she could bear? Sarah could hear the countdown in her mind, the moment her heart would either swell with pride or shatter under the weight of expectation. The first parent approached, admiration glowing in their eyes. "This is enchanting. The way you've woven together the tree and the cosmos, what a unique perspective." Emma beamed, taking a step forward, ready to share her thoughts. The interaction lifted a weight from Sarah's chest but also deepened her apprehension. If this was a success, what would that mean for her as an artist and as a mother? Was she meant to step back, or could she still carve out her own identity in this new picture? "Thank you," Emma responded with confidence, and Sarah felt the dimming of her own fear as Emma's luminous spirit illuminated those around them. However, as the showcase unfolded, whispers of less than favorable critiques began to ripple through the room. Children played within the boundaries drawn by their protective parents, each comment twisting in Sarah's mind. Were they disappointed in her parenting? Did they see what she was afraid of seeing, a mother more interested in her artistry than her child's growth? With every interaction, Sarah confronted her tumultuous feelings, standing on the edge of an emotional precipice. She couldn't ignore that. This moment was not just about showcasing art, it was about defining relationships. As Sarah took a breath, preparing for her daughter's next words, she realized this day could indeed shift everything. But what if it turned out to be a defining moment, one that revealed aspects of their bond she had never anticipated? What if, Emma began, her voice steady, we entered it into next year's art competition? The suggestion hung in the air, a bold leap into an uncertain future. Would they be ready for such a challenge? Would this be the moment that defined their relationship moving forward, both as artists and as mother and daughter? With her heart racing, Sarah met Emma's gaze, unsure what this next leap would entail, but knowing their journey had only just begun. As the echoes of Emma's suggestion faded into the chaos of the gym, Sarah stood frozen, her mind racing. The prospect of entering the art competition felt like a gaping chasm of uncertainty. Could they really put themselves out there again? The initial pride she felt began morphing into hesitation, the sweet vulnerability of the previous moments now twisted into something sharper and more defined. "Do you really think we could?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It was a question that echoed her own fears and suspicions about the future. The weight of expectation, not only from Emma but also from herself, loomed ominously over her. Of course. Everyone loved our piece. Emma's optimism was infectious, yet Sarah struggled to share that enthusiasm. The murmurs around them began to swell. Some parents were commenting thoughtfully, but others' eyes bore the telltale glint of skepticism. The spotlight on their artwork threatened to illuminate all the cracks in Sarah's self-image. Could she allow herself to dream of greater things, of stepping beyond her role as a supportive parent into one of artistic ambition? Did that compromise her commitment to Emma's growth? "I like it here," Sarah admitted softly, feeling the words escaping her mouth like a confession. "This feels safe." "Safe is boring," Emma teased, playful but earnest. "We created something beautiful together. Why wouldn't we want to show it off more?" In that instant, Sarah experienced a moment of clarity. Emma's eagerness was wrapped in a layer of determination that exceeded her own. Perhaps her apprehension was limiting not just her growth but also Emma's. Sarah realized that while she fought against her fears, Emma was ready to seize opportunities with both hands. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder, critical voices dissecting their creation. "Perhaps too whimsical for a competition," one mother murmured, her tone dripping with condescension. Sarah's heart sank. Was this what awaited them if they took the leap? "Mom, you're not scared of what people think, are you?" Emma's innocent question pierced through Sarah's swirling doubts. Her daughter's beautiful, uncomplicated view of the world contrasted sharply with Sarah's convoluted thoughts. Was she truly that afraid? The internal turmoil turned into a more potent realization. It was time to confront not just her fear but also her sense of self-worth as both a mother and an artist. "No, I'm not scared," she replied, her voice steadier now. "I just need to think about what this means for us." A shift occurred in that moment, a dawning awareness that perhaps ambition didn't need to come at the cost of Emma's growth. What if they could learn together, navigate the art world side by side? The very canvas that once symbolized her insecurities could now represent a partnership that transcended her fears. As more eyes gravitated toward their painting, Sarah sensed another layer to this experience. It wasn't simply about judgment, it was about connection, collaboration, and shared aspirations. "Okay, let us do it," she declared, surprising herself with newfound resolve. Emma's eyes brightened as she processed her mother's decision. Really? We'll enter together? Yes, together. Yet even as Sarah embraced this change, something gnawed at the edges of her resolution. Could she genuinely shed her fears and embrace the unexpected challenges ahead? Could she reconcile her insecurities with her daughter's growing independence? As the evening concluded and the crowd slowly thinned, Sarah felt a more profound weight lift from her shoulders. Stepping out from the shadows of self-doubt seemed feasible, but the uncertainties ahead were still pressing. She glanced at their artwork, the colors melding beautifully together. With renewed determination, she realized the journey ahead wouldn't simply test her artistic abilities, it would force her to confront her identity. Just as Sarah prepared to discuss next steps with Emma, they bumped into one of the other showcasing artists. The woman's presence was commanding, and with a sly smile, she said, "So, you're entering the competition? Hope you're ready for a real challenge." The challenge of competing was only the beginning. With eyes wide open, Sarah sensed that the true test would not lie within the expected pressures of the competition but in the reveal of her own artistic potential, the friction between past and future, and the pivotal role Emma would play in that unfolding narrative. As the reality of what lay ahead settled in, she couldn't help but wonder what would she learn about herself as the competition approached, and what would it ultimately mean for their bond. The days that followed the decision to enter the art competition felt surreal. Sarah's mind was an unrelenting whirlwind, shifting from excitement over tapping into her creative potential to paralyzing self-doubt about her abilities. The vibrant mix of colors and shapes they had once brought to life seemed to pale under the looming threat of judgment. The uncertainty weighed heavily on her, often manifesting in restless nights and unproductive days. Emma, in contrast, buzzed with enthusiasm, her chatter filled with creative ideas and plans to mark their project with flair. Sarah admired the way her daughter seemed unburdened by fear. Conversations about format, technique, and themes elicited childish joy instead of the dread that clawed at Sarah's gut. Each time Emma expressed her ideas, Sarah felt both pride and a sense of breeding envy. Why couldn't she reclaim that innocent love for creation? Had adult expectations dulled her artistic vision? Determined to reclaim her passion, Sarah signed them up for a local art workshop. The instructor, a charismatic woman named Lila, nurtured an atmosphere of experimentation that Sarah desperately needed. Lila's philosophy emphasized free expression, insisting that art should be an exploration rather than a destination. As Sarah squirted paint onto her palette, nervous energy shifted into a focused intent. Yet, amidst the laughter and clanging brushes, anxiety still clung to her. She struggled to follow Lila's advice, to embrace the unknown, to be vulnerable in her art without the fear of critiques. Surrounded by accomplished individuals whose work shimmered with expertise, Sarah often found herself retreating into a shell of uncertainty, watching others with admiration while doubting her own brushes and strokes. At night, she would toss and turn, haunted by the thought of submitting work that paled in comparison to her peers. Each time she approached the canvas, a voice inside her echoed the judgment she had overheard earlier. Too whimsical, it taunted back, as if recalling the dismissive words. However, when she observed Emma at the workshop, her unrestrained joy as she dabbed colors upon canvas, the bright laughter spilling forth with every new brushstroke, Sarah found a flicker of inspiration. Emma's fearless enthusiasm reignited something deep within Sarah. As the competition date loomed closer, Sarah decided on a new approach, to facilitate a positive environment for both of them. She began focusing less on her artistic insecurities and more on nurturing Emma's creativity. They spent evenings side by side, experimenting with techniques Lila had suggested, creating whimsical stories through their art. Each session turned into an exploration, a foray into places of imagination where fear held no reign, yet, moments of self-doubt would often resurface. Just when Sarah thought she had pushed past, a sharp reminder would cut through, evaluating her work with a harsh light. It happened in a quiet moment when she stumbled upon a piece of Emma's drawings tucked away in her folder. It was a breathtaking portrayal of a whimsical world, teeming with colors and vibrancy. Instead of feeling encouraged, knots tightened in Sarah's stomach. Was she stifling Emma's potential by holding back from her own? The realization struck like lightning. Their competition entry had become a mirror reflecting her fears, insecurities, and aspirations. Instead of seeing it as a shared journey, she viewed it as an overwhelming burden. Determined not to succumb again to the shadows of self-doubt, Sarah took a breath, resolved to harness that emotional turbulence into creative fuel. In a rare moment of clarity, she faced the canvas alone. Dipping her brush hesitantly into bright hues, she began to explore the strokes unplanned and wild, the colors fighting and embracing one another. The feeling of liberation began melting away her fear, allowing her to inhabit the spirit of the moment. But just then, the door swung open. Emma, eager and curious, glided in with an energy that pulled Sarah back from the depths of herself. "Mom, can I show you what I made?" The request carried a weight of both vulnerability and potential, one that mirrored the delicate unraveling they both faced. Churning excitement braided with anxiety, Sarah felt the pull of their intertwined destinies. As she turned to face her daughter, a profound question lingered in the air, begging to be answered. Could their shared journey through art redefine not just their creations, but their very connection? With each passing moment before their canvases, they were not just preparing for a competition. They were embarking on a transformative odyssey. Yet, would Sarah have the courage to embrace whatever revelations lay ahead, and could she truly allow herself to be inspired by the budding artist beside her? The moment hung in the air, vibrating with unspoken fears and expectations. As Sarah turned to her daughter, ready to respond, Emma bounced on her toes, a canvas tucked under her arm, her excitement erupting in a presentation that felt almost ritualistic. "Look, look!" Emma squealed, revealing a riot of colors across the surface. "I named it Rainbow Dreams. Can you see how the colors swirl like thoughts in my head?" For a heartbeat, Sarah was engulfed in the vividness of Emma's creation. The brushwork was timid in places, bold in others, allowing unexpected contrasts and harmonies to emerge, reflecting a sense of freedom that Sarah longed to reclaim for herself. Yet, as she examined the piece more closely, a pang of anxiety tightened her chest. Emma's work illustrated unfiltered creativity while Sarah's felt tinged with hesitation and fear of judgment. As if she could sense her mother's apprehension, Emma's enthusiasm faltered just for a moment. "Mom? What do you think? Is it good?" The innocence in her daughter's voice cut through Sarah. The very expectation of praise became a reflection of Sarah's internal turmoil. "It's beautiful, honey," she replied, forcing a smile. But internally, she wrestled with the weight of the judgment she felt in her own heart. This moment sparked a new realization. The competition was only a backdrop, it was their personal evolution that mattered most. What kind of example was she setting if her own doubts translated into hesitation? Both she and Emma were at a crossroads, one pursuing unfettered creativity, the other tangled in self-imposed restrictions. Driven to challenge herself, Sarah asked, "Can I try something? Maybe we can create a piece together. We can explore what we feel." Emma's eyes widened at the prospect, and in that instant, Sarah felt a glimmer of the connection she yearned to deepen. With her daughter guiding her back towards an authentic expression, they positioned their canvases side by side, a vibrant canvas for their collective vision, with bright colors awaiting their exploration. Sarah dipped the brush into a bold crimson, allowing herself to be swept away by the experience rather than focusing on the final product. Gradually, she lost herself in the rhythm of creation, instinctively mirroring Emma's turns and changes, flowing together in a dance of strokes. Each brushstroke became a form of dialogue, a means of reconciling the barriers within her. Each color whispered encouragement, daring her to strip away the doubts blocking her path. Laughter erupted between them with every splatter and smeared intention, as spontaneity took over the room. The surprise of colors colliding felt like a symphony composed in the moment, creating a visual representation of their bond. But as technical weaknesses emerged in Sarah's work, that nagging voice of self-doubt crept back in, echoing sentiments of inadequacy. The fleeting notion that her art could ever be compared to Emma's vision gnawed at her confidence. Mustering courage, she turned to Emma with shaky resolve. "Can I ask, do you think I'm helping or holding you back?" Emma paused, her brow furrowing slightly as if weighing her response. "I think we both can help each other. This is about fun, not just making it pretty." Somewhere within that childlike simplicity lay profound wisdom. It struck Sarah deeply, a reminder that their journey was not solely about competition. It was an exploration of growth, unconditional acceptance, and shared experiences. The fear of judgment shifted in her psyche, becoming more about nurturing the connection with her daughter rather than comparing their artistic merits. With the backdrop of splattered colors and laughter, a deeper understanding crystallized in Sarah's heart. As she regained her footing, she realized she could sculpt not only her art but her relationship with Emma. Each brushstroke held the promise of deeper connections, but just as clarity began to settle in, the doorbell rang unexpectedly, breaking their sacred moment. A familiar voice echoed from the outside, and dread seeped back into Sarah's mind. What if it was someone from the art community? Would they judge her ongoing evolution? Anxiety surged anew, threatening to disrupt the newfound understanding. Uncertain, she glanced at Emma, whose expression flickered between excitement and concern. "Mom, what if it's someone from the workshop?" The air thickened with tension. Would this intrusion be their undoing, a harsh reminder of the world outside their creative cocoon? The lingering doubts of her day ahead took root in Sarah's mind, intertwined with the vibrant colors now adorning their canvases. As the door swung open, Sarah prepared to confront whatever awaited her on the other side, knowing her journey was only just beginning. Would she embrace her progress or retreat into the shadows once more? The door creaked open slowly, and Sarah's heart pounded in tandem with the rhythm of her breath. The woman who stepped in was familiar yet distant: Julia, a fellow artist and competitor from the workshop. A wave of dread washed over Sarah as Julia's eyes scanned the room, landing on the colorful turmoil of the canvases. "Hey, Sarah. I thought I heard some laughter in here," Julia said, her voice bright, betraying no hint of the internal struggles Sarah faced. "Looks like you're busy." Sarah's smile faltered momentarily. She could feel the weight of judgment in the air. Forced to confront the reality outside her intimate world with Emma, she braced herself. What if Julia saw the imperfections in her art? Would she mock the childish freedom that Emma had embraced? Anxiety tangled with protectiveness in her gut. Yeah. Emma and I were just experimenting with some colors," Sarah managed, trying to sound casual. Her eyes darted toward Emma, whose innocent enthusiasm stood in stark contrast to her mother's unease. Julia stepped closer to the canvases, and Sarah's heart raced. "Can I see?" With trepidation, Sarah held her breath as Julia approached their chaotic creations. Was it possible for her to appreciate the rawness of their bond? To see the love behind every brushstroke instead of the technical flaws screaming for recognition? Julia inspected the canvases with a practiced, discerning eye. "This is interesting," she said finally, tilting her head as a broad smile formed. "I love the energy. You've truly captured a moment between you and Emma." A flicker of conflicting emotions danced in Sarah's chest. Part of her wanted to accept the compliment, but the nagging doubts whispered maliciously. Did Julia genuinely see growth, or was she merely toying with her feelings? "Thanks," Sarah replied hesitantly, unsure of how to navigate the territory of validation. "You know," Julia continued, "there's a real freedom in what you're exploring. Don't trap yourself in the notion of perfection. Art is as much about the experience as it is about the end product." In those words, Sarah caught sight of a tether. Here was reassurance hidden within professional insight, a beacon when she felt lost. Perhaps this moment could be a teaching tool not just for Emma, but for herself. "Let me show you something," Julia said, suddenly animated as she pulled out a sketchbook. "I brought some of the pieces I've been working on. Want to give me feedback?" The shift in dynamic jolted Sarah. She felt the winds of competition rustle again, but not entirely with dread. Instead, it led to introspection. What did she want from this exchange? Did she want to critique perfection or appreciate authentic expression? "Sure. We can exchange ideas," Sarah replied, her confidence cautiously blooming. The conversation transformed, shifting from comparisons to shared insights. As they began to delve into the elements that made art more than just aesthetics. As they talked, Sarah's internal barriers began to crumble. Each interaction drew her deeper into appreciation of her own process, the very doubts that had once paralyzed her shifting into stepping stones for growth. Emma chimed in with eager comments, her youthful voice intertwining with the seasoned discussions of the artists, and Sarah realized they weren't in competition, they were building connections. Their laughter shared, their critiques honest yet constructive, she felt the sense of community shift from anxiety to inspiration. Yet, lingering doubt still whispered softly in her mind. Would this newfound camaraderie withstand the pressures of upcoming critiques? Would she still falter under the weight of external expectations? As Julia and Emma animatedly discussed color theory, Sarah's gaze drifted to her canvas, pausing on the swirls of crimson and azure, and in an unexpected moment of clarity, she recognized something profound. The most important judgment would always be her own, the soft strains of self-acceptance wrapped around her, soothing the remaining twinges of doubt. But those remaining threads of fear tugged at her heart, reminding her that the true test would come soon. Would she be able to uphold this newly discovered confidence in the realm of critique where external judgments pierced the creative spirit? Just as Sarah began to articulate her thoughts to Emma, the phone rang, a jarring reminder of the outside world and the chilling possibilities it held. She hesitated, glancing down at the caller ID, her heart racing in anticipation. Within that moment, she understood, her personal evolution was far from over. Would the call define her path forward, or would she continue to forge her own identity amid uncertainty? As Sarah stood there with Julia and Emma, the weight of the impending phone call lingered in the air. After a fleeting moment of hesitation, she finally answered, her voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety. The voice on the other end shared news of an unexpected opportunity. Her artwork, along with Emma's, had been selected for a featured exhibit at a local gallery. A surge of emotions coursed through Sarah: elation, disbelief, even apprehension. Yet beneath it all, a simmering realization took root. This was her chance to redefine not just her artistry, but her relationship with Emma, too. No longer confined by self-doubt, Sarah felt a shift within her. The metaphorical chains that had held her captive were now turning to mere strands. She could choose to celebrate this success, leading by example for Emma on what it meant to embrace both recognition and vulnerability. "Mom, are you okay?" Emma's face lit with concern as Sarah momentarily lost herself in thought. The rush of possibility was intoxicating, but alongside it was the ominous presence of expectations. The pressure to perform yet again loomed heavily, but this time it felt distinctly different. "I'm more than okay," Sarah asserted, that familiar embarrassment and fear giving way to deepening confidence. "This is our chance, Emma. Together, we can show everyone what we've created and who we truly are." In that moment, Sarah recognized a transformative undertone within herself. Embracing the journey was what mattered, not just the outcome. The exhibit would showcase not only their artistic work but the evolution of their mother-daughter relationship. They had navigated the treacherous waters of misunderstanding and had emerged with a deeper bond. This was a celebration of their shared growth. As the opening night approach drew closer, Sarah dedicated her efforts toward developing their presentation, creating plans with Emma to engage visitors in their artistic process. Instead of isolating herself in previous fears, she included her daughter in every decision, reinforcing the notion that their lives were intertwined. Emma blossomed in the thriving atmosphere, her confidence radiating. It was a testament to both the budding artist she had become and the role model Sarah had strived to be. The night of the exhibit finally arrived. The gallery was bustling with energy. Artists, critics, and family gathered to appreciate the work displayed. Sarah felt a thrill of nerves as they stood together, side by side in front of their collaborative piece, the vibrant painted tree merging with Emma's galaxy. There was an undeniable connection between the colors that reflected their journey. No longer apprehensive of judgment, both mother and daughter felt the confidence that came from knowing they had poured their souls into this creation. As people began to admire their work, the early critiques were overwhelmingly positive. Comments flowed in, praising the innovative fusion of their styles, lightheartedness, and joyful spirit. Each compliment ignited a responsive warmth within Sarah, who understood the significance of the moment. This acknowledgement didn't just validate them as artists, but as partners in their journey. "Mom, they love us," Emma whispered, her eyes sparkling with excitement. As Sarah shared in her daughter's joy, she understood they had both conquered not just the fear of external judgment but also faced the internal doubts they had held for far too long. Amid the praise, Sarah saw Julia approach, her expression genuine and supportive. "You both created something extraordinary. The way you've collaborated is inspiring," Julia acknowledged, her admiration ringing true. Sarah felt her own satisfaction swell. She had not only forged her identity as an artist but had built a flourishing relationship with Emma where both could thrive. That night was no mere culmination of accomplishments, but rather a testament to their evolution as mother and daughter. Sarah stood proudly next to her daughter, transformed from a woman who selected fear and conformity to one who embraced love. Creativity and authenticity. As they packed up after the event, Emma turned to Sarah with a smile. "I'm so glad we did this together." "Me too," Sarah responded, her heart swelling with pride. The journey was far from over, but she felt ready. No longer merely a protective mother, she emerged a partner and a mentor, committed to nurturing Emma's artistry while nourishing her own creative passions. The ghosts of the past tormenting fears and expectations began to fade, replaced by a fresh understanding of freedom and acceptance. In that moment, Sarah realized she had not just achieved recognition as an artist, but had reclaimed her own voice, crafted a profound bond with her daughter, and achieved a stronger sense of self. They stepped out into the evening's embrace, both feeling the weight of their former insecurities lighten. As Sarah and Emma walked hand in hand, the colors swirling in their minds inspired new dreams yet to be painted. This was the beginning of many more adventures, a journey steeped in creativity, connection, and freedom. Embrace your own journey. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to support our mission. Comment your thoughts about this transformative experience. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how powerful personal growth can be. Don't wait even one more second to support this community of transformation.